Hi everyone, as Dr. Kim Solis mentioned, my name is Haiqa Cheema. I'm a political science and economics major, so then I decided to do the presentation something relating to my field and relate artificial intelligence to it. The outline of the presentation is as follows. First, I will discuss the positive outcomes of artificial intelligence with our economy, the demand of labor, the supply of labor, and the effect it will have on wages and the societal impact too. Then we will talk about the global economy and the unknown implications. And lastly, I will talk about the possible solutions. If you have any questions during the presentations, feel free to just put up your hand. So before we can get started, we need to know what artificial intelligence is. Artificial intelligence is the software, computer, or a machine embodying human intelligence or even surpassing it. So if you've ever used a GPS to get somewhere, translated something on Google, or even purchased something online, then you've already seen the work of artificial intelligence. The truth is, it's making our life easier and more productive. But as it's gaining more, as technology progresses more, the narrative that machines are going to take over our jobs is gaining more momentum. And how they're going to do that is through machine learning. Machine learning is the concept where computers act without being explicitly programmed. So for example, self-driving cars. It's a reality today. But does that mean that machine learning or a computer is equivalent to the human mind? We thought the answer was no till 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue computer was able to beat a human in chess. You see, chess is a quintessential example of human intuition, always thinking 2 steps ahead. But when a computer beats you in that, it shows that this quality is not exclusive to humans anymore. Or even when Watson beat us in Jeopardy, humans in Jeopardy, Jeopardy requires you to know about culture, play on words, colloquial terms, and irony, and just little things that Watson was able to beat a human at. So I kind of have an interactive activity before we get into the presentation. There's this program that lets you know what are the chances of your job being replaced by a machine. So I wanted to ask you guys, what are some possible career choices that you're looking to do? Anyone? Hanan? Okay, so if we can just go here, let's go to healthcare. Dental hygienist is not on there, so I'll just do dentist. There's 0.4% chance that your job will be replaced by a robot. So you're in the good field if you go there. Anyone else?
Like some sort of policy or financial analysis?
Okay. So if you go there, let's go financial operations. Budget analysts. 93.8% chance that if you go into this field, your job will be replaced by a machine or a robot. Anyone else? PJ?
Professional athlete.
Professional athlete. Sports. Athlete. 28.3% chance that if you're a special athlete, your job will be replaced. So that kind of gives you guys an idea of where this is going in terms of singularity and artificial intelligence in our economy. Today, if I don't need to say more than machines taking over your job, if you just walk into a grocery store and all I have to do is point to a self-checkout to see how human labor is being replaced. I have another video I want to show you guys. It's really interesting. It was Lowe's. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of the store. They have this robot that helps customers in terms of finding products. So just a little video.
We work with groups and people and startups and organizations that no one would think Lowe's would work with. My name is Kyle Mel, and I'm the Executive Director of Lowe's Innovation Labs. Lowe's Innovation Labs is here to build new technologies to solve consumer problems with uncommon partners. We focus on making science fiction a reality. Retail really hasn't changed much in the last couple of years. The robots are the first thing that can really change the customer experience.
Hello, I am Oshbot, the Orchard Store Robot Helper. What are you looking for today?
The robot will come up to you and will say, "Hi, what can I help you with?"
Where can I find more of these?
I'm looking for hammers.
Me gustaría comprar esto.
Can you place the object in my viewfinder? Is this the item you are looking for?
Yes.
I'll take you.
Once you show the robot the item, it will then to where that item came from.
The robot has multiple sensors and is able to navigate inside of the store. It creates a map overnight. So the next day in the morning, the robot knows where the products are located.
I'll take you to the Plum 16-ounce flat contoured handle hammer.
One of my favorite parts of the robot is its ability to speak multiple languages.
¿Puedo hablar con un experto en plomería?
It allows you to connect remotely with another store associated in a different location.
Hola, soy Sara. ¿Cómo le puedo ayudar hoy? SU Labs and the Lowe's Innovation Lab are working together to experiment with exponentially accelerated technologies to really rethink how retail is done.
Lowe's is one of those amazing organizations on the planet. They have an executive team that really thinks about how to deploy new technology in very creative ways.
3D scanning, autonomous navigation, natural language processing, collision avoidance, all of these things come together to make the robot a wholly different experience than anything in retail right now.
I think it's a tool for our associates that really delivers on our promise of being an 80-year-old startup.
De hecho, creo que podríamos hacer por el robot.
So with that, you guys kind of get an idea. This is not something that's happening in 2045. This is right now. 2, I believe, stores in the United States are using this robot to help their customers and increase their customer service. So I guess it's not anything that happens in movies anymore. It is a reality. So some of the positive impacts of artificial intelligence in the economy. The Bank of America predicted that artificial intelligence will boost productivity by 30% in many industries while cutting manufactured labor costs by 18 to 33%. Self-driving cars have the potential to reduce road accidents in the US by 78% and save up to 150,000 lives globally every year. Watson, as I mentioned before, is now capable of reading medical textbooks in 3 seconds, and oncologists use Watson to provide chronic care and cancer treatment diagnostics. However, there are some other implications of this too. For example, the demand of labor in, let's say, 2045 or 2035. Machines would replace anything that involves repetition or has a narrow, well-defined set of duties. Currently, if you look at it, our labor market is very discrete tasks that we do. It's not very, the amount of people that are employed in jobs that are very creative and entrepreneur is very small compared to ones that do like hard labor jobs. The demand is steeply growing for highly skilled, highly educated workers, but quickly declining for those with low to moderate education that can do repetitive tasks. So, go to that. But the supply of this in 2045 will not match the demand that is required, because we're progressing at a faster rate than ever before. You see, what happened during the Industrial Revolution was that once people were not working in agriculture, the jobs were being quickly replaced by factories, but that's not what we're seeing today. I predict that there will be 2 polarized job markets in 2045. There will be the white-collar jobs, and then there will be the blue-collar jobs. There's going to be not very much demand for the blue-collar jobs, and people with low education will not be able to find the job that they need based on the things that they have. Many people argue that if you can't get the job, then you will end up doing something that you really like, or it's like you'll just go on to do creative things. I feel like that's a very simplistic argument, that like you would just, there's an assumption that you will just do that. What happens if you're someone that enjoys being a bank teller, or you enjoy being a cashier, and that is all you know how to do? And I think the reason we're not meeting the supply is because there's a deep disconnect between the current education system and the future job markets. We had a presentation that talked about how our current generation is tech savvy, and they know that they'll be fine in the upcoming years about getting into the job market, but I don't think that's true. There was just give me 1 second. According to McKinsey's Education Employment Report in 2015, so last year, 70% of educators surveyed believe that graduates are prepared for the job market. On the other side, less than 50% of employers and young graduates agree. So this report highlights the discrepancies for the current job market, let alone in like 20 to 30 years. This will also have an impact on wages and society as a whole. So if you're someone that knows how to become like, is a cashier, but now you won't be able to find a job. So the thing is, wages are going to decrease because the supply of people looking, there's so many people looking for this job and the demand for it is so low. So wages will increase for workers using advanced technology at the national level than at the establishment level, where wage dispersion appears to be occurring primarily across firms within industries. Profits will become concentrated among business owners, and this will squeeze out those at the bottom of the employment ladder, rendering them most unemployable without re-education. Bank of America describes this as displacement of human labor. This will also have implications in the global economy. So in political science, we have this theory called world systems theory. And how it works is you divide up all the states into 3 categories: core, semi-periphery, or periphery. The core, which would be like the hegemon, like the US, would benefits from the semi-periphery or the periphery. So that's from like high profit consumption goods, or like it uses up their raw materials and it profits from that. Semi-periphery will be countries like Brazil or India or South Africa. And then periphery would be countries like Philippines or Bangladesh. So this is a system that is the current system that is in our world right now. There is very much developed versus developing countries, haves versus have-not. I would like to point out that in this system, you can move from periphery to semi-periphery, but you can't go to the core. And that's how it works. The way our system is set up through like IMF or the World Bank, and that's how it's operating as of right now. Other things, so artificial intelligence creates jobs in cities like San Francisco, Switzerland, or Tokyo, not in Karachi or Manila. As automation gets better, a lot of jobs that were once offshore to low-wage countries, especially in areas of repetitive customer service, are and will further be replaced things like digital voice systems. And that will make it harder for the developing or underdeveloped countries to catch up to the already developed ones. We will have this 2-tier system, and it'll just widen the gap that we already have. So to overcome this, we need to devise a new whole system in the next 25 to 30 years, and that, I guess, is dependent on businesses and politicians. Other thing, you see, when Industrial Revolution was taking place, at the beginning everything was so great, but we didn't know the implications of it after. So that would be the environment. It had a drastic impact on what happened with the environment and the working conditions. Child labor became more popular after Industrial Revolution. So what is to say that things that we're thinking about right now, there could be something that we don't know about right now that could happen in 2040 and the consequences of that. Another thing after the Industrial Revolution that happened was the Luddite Revolution. Has anyone heard of that before? Okay, so what happened was people that used to weave and make blankets and make cloth or something, their jobs were being replaced by these heavy machines, and they were not happy, and they did not have the skills yet to operate those machines. So there's this entire revolution that took place where people start going into factories and breaking apart those machines. This obviously brought in political instability. Those people were then hanged and punished. So this could be something that does happen when people get so tired of their jobs being taken away and not having enough education, enough skills to be prepared for it. Another thing that economy and the political instability has an impact on is population and demographics. So now that, let's hypothetically, our jobs are being replaced by machines. Are we going to have more kids, or are we going to have less kids? We don't know that. Is it now that you have more free time, so you have more kids, or is that you not have enough opportunities and the economy is not doing that well, so you have less kids? These are some things that we need to take into account. I have one video I want to show about social inequality. I'll show that right now. It's from a TED Talk.
I want to tell a story about 2 stereotypical American workers. And to make them really stereotypical, let's make them both white guys. And the first one is a college-educated, professional, creative type, manager, engineer, doctor, lawyer, that kind of worker. We're going to call him Ted. He's at the top of the American middle class. His counterpart is not college-educated and works as a laborer, works as a clerk, does low-level white-collar or blue-collar work in the economy. We're going to call that guy Bill. And if you go back about 50 years, Bill and Ted were leading remarkably similar lives. For example, in 1960, they were both very likely to have full-time jobs, working at least 40 hours a week. But as the social researcher Charles Murray has documented, as we started to automate the economy, in 1960 is just about when computers started to be used by businesses. As we started to progressively inject technology and automation and digital stuff into the economy, the fortunes of Bill and Ted diverged a lot. Over this time frame, Ted has continued to hold a full-time job. Bill hasn't. In many cases, Bill has left the economy entirely, and Ted very rarely has. Over time, Ted's marriage has stayed quite happy. Bill's hasn't. And Ted's kids have grown up in a two-parent home, while Bill's absolutely have not over time. Other ways that Bill is dropping out of society, he's decreased his voting in presidential elections, and he's starting to go to prison a lot more often. So I cannot tell a happy story about these social trends, and they don't show any signs of reversing themselves. They're also true no matter which ethnic group or demographic group we look at, and they're actually getting so severe that they're in danger of overwhelming even the amazing progress we made with the civil rights movement. And what my friends in Silicon Valley and Cambridge are overlooking is that they're Ted. They're living these amazingly busy, productive lives, and they've got all the benefits to show from that, while Bill is leading a very different life. They're actually both proof of how right Voltaire was when he talked about the benefits of work, and the fact that it saves us from not one, but three great evils. So, with these challenges, what do we do about them? The economic playbook is surprisingly clear, surprisingly straightforward. In the short term especially, the robots are not going to take all of our jobs in the next year or two, so the classic Econ 101 playbook is going to work just fine. Encourage entrepreneurship, double down on infrastructure, and make sure we're turning out people from our educational system with the appropriate skills. But over the longer term, if we are moving into an economy that's heavy on technology and light on labor, and we are, then we have to consider some more radical interventions. For example, something like a guaranteed minimum income. Now,
Okay. So that kind of gives you guys an idea about the social implications of a system. I had another video to just highlight inequality that happens throughout the economy. So we'll just do that.
The recent past has seen greater economic inequality in America than at any time since the Great Depression. In the 3 decades after World War II, American incomes grew quickly and equally. But starting in the late 1970s, things began to change. Today, 1% of Americans are taking home nearly 20% of the country's total income and own more than 35% of America's wealth. And it didn't happen by accident. It's the result of policy decisions on taxes, education, trade, labor, macroeconomics, and financial regulation, all of which shifted economic power away from low and moderate income American families. Economic inequality is real, it's personal, it's expensive, and it was created. Since the 1960s, tax rates on very high incomes have been slashed dramatically, starving public investments in schools, roads, and everything else needed to build our economy, and providing ever greater incentives to rig the economy's rules to send more money to the top. The laws we've created to govern globalization have protected corporate interests, but done nothing for American workers. Instead, we've allowed workers' rights to be systematically dismantled, both here and abroad. Policymakers also began using high unemployment, which hurts everybody, but especially low and middle wage workers, to protect the wealthy from any hint of inflation. And then corporate interests pushed to abandon safeguards preventing the financial sector from making risky bets, which had to be backstopped by American taxpayers when those bets went sour, a protection not given America's underwater homeowners. All of this created the worst economic crisis since the 1930s, and we did it by allowing those with the most economic power to set the rules of our economy. It's continuing today. By the end of 2012, American workers' share of the economic pie was the lowest in more than half a century, while the share going to corporate profits was the highest on record. This isn't sustainable. We can't have a prosperous economy without a large and growing middle class. None of this happened by accident. We allowed it to happen, but it can be fixed. So let's fix it.
So as the video says, that this is something that is created and can be reversed. This is my not so subtle way of telling how to do it with Bernie Sanders, but yeah. The ideal thing would be to close the income inequality gap and create the same opportunities for everyone. But we all know it's not very practical, I would say, in the next coming up years. The starting point, I guess, in our society could be a higher minimum wage, or progressive taxation in the States would be huge helpful. And I think the best thing that we could do right now is better education. That will meet the supply that we need, that 2045 demands. We need to get off this memorize, do the test type of thing, and encourage more interdisciplinary studies, encourage more innovation. The thing is, it is being encouraged, but it's being encouraged at a higher institutional levels like you and I. It's not at the very lower level in our economy. Most people don't go into post-secondary. That's the truth. And then we need to do a better job of making sure those people are equipped with the skills that they need to be able to survive in 2045. And that's my presentations. Any questions?
So how does this tie into or how does the idea of post-scarcity play into this line of thinking? Like maybe in the far future, past 2045, we'll get to a point where people are basically redundant and we don't even need to have jobs. So then maybe you would have to decouple the idea of guaranteeing people work from the idea of guaranteeing them a livelihood. So is that something that does that somehow incorporate this idea?
So like you're asking if like, what if people don't even want jobs in like 2045?
Yeah, what if jobs aren't even necessary? What if you have a whole bunch of people where they don't have jobs, but where jobs wouldn't even be useful? How would you guarantee them a livelihood if they don't actually need jobs? The economy doesn't need people to work.
So you have everything just being done by robots and you don't need people to do anything. I think it's part of human nature to have some purpose in life, and I think the career that you choose and the job that you do plays a huge impact on it. And just to assume that like all of the world would not want to do something is just, I don't know, I think it's kind of naive. We need to take that into account. We can't just say that this is what if like that won't happen and that's fine. I think that's the problem I have with it. Like after, let's say 2090 or something, I could see that, but like in coming like 30 to 50 years, that's where I would say.
Probably there is a simple difficulty here in that the people discussing this, like the issues of guaranteed income, of repurposing yourself for something society needs, and are largely people who probably would do that. But the people who are not in the conversation are the people who really need to know about that. What about all the people who would have great difficulty making that change, who are not motivated to do what society wants? They are motivated to do the job that they're doing now. They cannot conceive of anything different from that. Generally, those are not, the educated youth that you find within university courses now. And I don't know how to hear from them, or how to get that point of view. Like, I think every single one of you, if you needed to change the focus of your life, you probably could, and you might find it fun. But probably the average human being would have great difficulty and wouldn't find it fun, and would probably fail 3 out of 10. And we're never getting any of them to write op-ed pieces or something. So I think all of the conversation is coming from people who would be malleable, changeable, whose lives could reconfigure if society changed. Probably that's true of all of you, but it's not true of most people. So how do we get the information? How do we figure out what's going to happen to the majority of human beings, or is it even possible to predict? Maybe it simply cannot be predicted. So any thoughts? Like if robots could do everything physical better than you, but if humans were still better at some tasks that, had to do with like empathy and nature and stuff that we are more expert in initially than robots. Almost all of you, or probably all of you, could make that change, right? But most people couldn't. I think when you walk down the street, most of the people coming in the opposite direction that you're looking at couldn't make that change at all. So what's going to happen then?
Would they need to?
Would they need to change?
Yeah, like if a large portion of the labor needed to keep society moving or progressing as it is highly automated, and they don't want to like become more skilled than the automated robots. Why would they need to do something at all?
No, because they think of themselves as somebody with a job. When somebody asks them who they are, they start telling them their job. You can't imagine a life without being able to do that. To them, what they do is who they are. It wouldn't be anybody.
Yeah, but like in the sense of like how will society work, I like depression might increase without like having like that feeling, and you don't have a place in the world where you're actually doing something. That happens all the time now. Like a lot of people work jobs where they're not like, yeah, I work in an assembly line and this makes me happy. A lot of people work, a lot of people work in like that industry.
Yeah, living lives of quiet
And they just
desperation, watching the clock.
They do it, yeah. And like that's like the thing that happens now. So whether or not they're like actually going and like to do their job or not, it sounds like an individual problem.
Yeah. So you're saying maybe it's not a problem? We don't have to worry about it?
Like,
It
seem
seems
like they have to like, it might be
unlikely to me that it's just not a problem.
No, but the thing is, like, the work that they're doing right now, there's not going to be enough demand for it in like upcoming years. So then like they just wouldn't work, but then like that's who they are, you know what I mean? Like that's what they know how to do. What if that is something that they enjoy doing? What goes on to that, like implications of that.
Quite a few people though, like I think people were like kind of discussing, like I've worked like quite low skill labor jobs for a lot of my life. And it's definitely a small sample size, but a lot of those people don't work for the job. You work for the paycheck, like they do that for the paycheck, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I think a lot of those people would be happy if they got a paycheck.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was talking about when I was like, we need to devise like a new economic system where like those people who are not working anymore, they need to be guaranteed some sort, like if we're not gonna have like, let's say like money that's circulating around, there's gonna be another type of like currency that we're using or something like that. We need to devise that from like now, right? Rather than just like when it happens and then like deal with it. Like we did with the Industrial Revolution, now that we're seeing the impacts of it, now we have to deal with it. If we started from the beginning, then it would have been better.
Well, I don't think that means that there's going to be some people who's not working. Like instead, we just kind of like change the type of occupations available and also kind of like higher the standards. So for instance, if work labor force is not the same that people know by technology, that means that people will be forced to perhaps get a college education, explore new fields and find new jobs. I think that's what is going to happen. We're going to have like a huge job market that is opened up as people try to find something more kind of interdisciplinary, try to find more job opportunities that aren't so typical, like a retail clerk or something, sales cashier or something like that. Instead, they'll be forced to find new positions. I could never see, like I feel like every single person does identify themselves as like, I'm studying, I'm working, I am a mother, I am a father. Those are like really important characteristics of individuals. So I don't see like a certain group of people not having jobs. They're just going to have to look for it in a new way.
But how is that transition going to be for them if you look at someone that has grown up with not enough opportunities as of today, right? Like how is that transition going to be for them?
Great.
Yeah, So at the end, we kind of talked about some solutions, and we talked about this big inequality between rich and poor. How do you propose actually dealing with that? How do you propose a system where there is a distribution of the goods? I mean, so far, those who have are the ones in power, and they continue to make these decisions to support themselves. Why should we expect that there's going to be any sort of change that will be non-violent, actually?
Yeah. You just asked me like the biggest question in like today's society to solve society. I guess like it's a very ideal thing where you like close this gap between the rich and the poor that just seems to be expanding every day. The thing would that be maybe minimum wage today, so that you create opportunities from the beginning and then they work themselves up, like you lift the people at the bottom through that. Progressive taxation, Canada has it. That's why our income inequality is far less than it is in the United States, I would say. So progressive taxation would be one of them. And the thing was going to be better education. That was my third and most important one, to make sure that people like from elementary school are getting the skills that they need to move all the way up till college education and to go into innovation and go into these like fields that there is a demand for. It's a very long haul process, but like you would have to start, that you're going to see the results of later on, but you would have to start today. There's no short-term fix to this problem. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I don't think we can guarantee that there won't be violence. But I wonder if it will be like the Luddites. You know, not a lot of people died in the Luddite revolution. You know, it was unfortunate, but yeah, I would hope that it can be solved without that. But I think you're probably right. There are sort of fixed ideas there to deal with.
So I have a question. Do you think that this will result in kind of a more income or economic disparity between developing and developed countries?
I think it would, because the thing was I was talking about before too, the jobs that this artificial intelligence is creating, it's in the developed countries. It's not creating it in countries like Pakistan or Philippines or Bangladesh. It's not creating it for them. The jobs that they already are doing right now are to catch up to the developed world would be like telemarketing. And that's being replaced by voice systems, digital voice systems now. So that's gonna, I think, widen the gap between developing and developed nations. And it's gonna be harder for the underdeveloped and developing nations to catch up to the developed world. We're gonna have a 2-tier system.
Okay, other questions? Okay, Lisa, you wanna come up?
Thank you.
Very